Hello, everyone, and welcome to LaKesha and Friends. And today I'm so excited to have my friend, Miss Martinique Mix on. Yay! We actually are, well, we were at one point co
Sister
chairpeople.
presidents.
Yeah, sister presidents. That's the right.
Right.
We were sister presidents. I was the chairperson for the Young Adults in Christian Ministries for the Amy Zion Church, and Martinique is a president of the RAYAC. And I'm going to let her introduce herself and tell you guys a little bit about what she does. Welcome.
Okay, well, thank you, LaKesha, for inviting me because I feel so special. You have all these other important people you've been inviting, but as she said, I am the president of the Richard Allen Young Adult Council, which is the young adult component in the AME Church, and we have lay and clergy, so it's for everybody, right? And so what I do is basically try to represent the young adults and create programming and do things for them on a connectional level, and then help that trickle down to the Episcopal level, the conference, presiding our district, and the local church. So basically, just making sure young adults are heard and seen in the church.
Awesome. And one of the initiatives that you all just, I guess, did a project on was voting, which is why we're here today. And so you guys did that on Saturday. So tell us a little bit about, what were some of the issues that you all discussed on Saturday?
Yeah, so we did a panel discussion on Saturday called "Our Votes Matter." And we had two of the board members were moderators, Sister Angel Wilson and Brother Harry Matthew Seabright. And then we had a panel of five persons: Reverend Mindy Mays, Reverend Kendall McBroom, Sister Jacqueline Hill, Brother Sean Floyd, and then Reverend Kirkpatrick Tyler. And so within that conversation, and I think it was a good conversation because it was a safe space where people
Mm.
could openly talk about voting, and we touched on abolition, talking about the key phrase that people are using now to abolish different elements. We talked about defunding the police, and we talked about understanding the actual voting process in your city and in your state. Because I think sometimes we get lost about what actually we're voting for beyond just the presidential part of the election. And so we kind of talked on that, but we also just gave people a place where they can kind of, feel free, like, I'm kind of don't really feel either party.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they want to say that, they can, because, we are nonpartisan. So we're not saying that you have to go one way or the other. We know how we would like it to be, but
Right.
we still want people to have a safe space to say, like, I still need more information. I need to feel better about why I'm voting and what is the purpose, you know?
Yeah, definitely. So when people say like they're not feeling either candidate, what is the advice that you give to them? Because I know a lot of people, especially like young adults who are kind of in that space where it's like, I don't really like either candidate, so I'm just not going to vote. And we know that that's not the answer. So how do you encourage them to remain active and that their vote does count and it's needed?
I kind of try to encourage them that, when we think about, okay, you might not want to vote, but then when you think about how that one vote will trickle down, so if you stop something from happening, it causes more issues. So by you not voting, then the whole thing with the AG that happened in Louisville, right? Though those process of, even if you don't vote for the president, there's still a ballot full of other things that are going to be elected. And so, and those are some of the issues that happen. So yeah, there's, I know we like to say there's not perfect candidates, but I think in the interim of the election is when we have to work on what next. So for this election, I tell people you need to vote so that in the in between times
Right.
we can have a safe space where we can continue to do the work. And if you want to then look at maybe joining another party or even creating another party after the election is the time. It's not during the election process of the year of the election to say, I don't want to vote because I don't like either party. That's not the time to say that.
Right.
That is when we've said, you know what I'm saying? But after November, you can go back and look at things. And that's what we have to do. We have to be, you know, we need to continue to be a little bit more diligent about it. But I just try to tell them, like, it affects everything. You
Yeah.
know, like if you don't pay, if you don't get, it's almost like if you don't get paid for a week, then that means you can't pay your bills. And when
Right.
you can't pay your bills, let's say you can't pay rent, then you don't have anywhere to live. You don't have anywhere to live, you don't have anywhere to change for work. Or, you know, if you don't have anywhere to change your work, then how do you feel about trying to make sure that you can even want to go to work? So it trickles down. And if we look at it the same way as in how one, you know, choice can affect something, I think that people will be more aware that their vote does matter, and not to take it for granted.
Right. And I think that that's so important because, like, it frustrates me when I see people not participating in the primary process. So it's like, primaries come, primaries go, like people don't vote. Like you see how low the voter turnout is, and then we get to the general, and then everybody has an opinion. And it's like, no, but like your chance to voice that opinion was during the primaries when you had like 7 or 8 different candidates. And it's not just for president, but it's almost every option, every office. You have like all these candidates, people don't participate, and then once the people who voted make a selection, then it's like everybody has a problem, and it's like that's kind of like not how it works. So I'm glad that you guys like did some work explaining that. One of the things that you mentioned is that you're kind of putting together initiatives for like the local churches. What are some of the things that you see your local presidents doing to help get out the vote and get people excited?
Well, I know a lot of the things is that we have people who are signing up to be poll workers.
Ooh.
And I even signed up myself because I think one of the things is that we don't realize the importance of the poll worker. That is someone who, when you get there, you know, that's the person, that your contact person. That's the person who's going to make you feel comfortable or uncomfortable. And so when you go to a place and there's not people that maybe look like you, or people who understand you, or people who encourage you to stay, you're not going to want to vote, right? Like it's just, it's really the oddest thing. In my local neighborhood, which is, you know, predominantly white, the poll workers are mostly Black. And so when I go there and I see those Black faces that know me because they've done it over time, I feel comfortable. And so even if the line is long, I know that they're going to be like, you know, girl, you need to stay or whatever. I never feel uncomfortable because I know that there's people who look like me, but who also have been there multiple times. So that's something that they're doing. But they're also, we have even people who are running for office on the local level. We have a person who, one of our presidents is running for alder person. And so to someone who is like looking at changing, you know, that, but she also does just initiatives of having, you know, calls, making sure that people are registered. And so we have that, and, you know, people are talking about rides. How do we get people to, you know, who need to want to do in-person voting, but also making sure that they know where the ballot box is if they want to turn it in an absentee ballot, because, you know, you can mail it, but then there are places that you can just drop it off. So basically they've been giving information and just, you know, coming outside themselves and making sure that people know, like, I'm a reliable source. If you have, you know, if you have questions, you can ask me.
That's awesome. So I want to go back to the poll worker thing. Like, tell me a little bit about the process of becoming a poll worker, because I've seen like articles saying, "Hey, we need you to be a poll worker," and I think like some people might be intimidated. Like, I don't know if I'm qualified. I don't know what to do. So, what is the process for becoming a poll worker
So
like?
I believe the website is pollworker.com. I want to say that is the website, but I'm sure you can post, you know, post it later on your site. Um, but yeah, it's a really simple process. You can go to that website, or you can actually go to your county's website. And once you do that, you fill out a questionnaire. Somebody will call you, and then you'll fill out another questionnaire from your county if you haven't already done so. There's no prerequisites about like education level. If you do speak another language, you know, it does help because they are looking for bilingual people, but they're really just looking for people who want to help and who can stay for a long period of time and who are willing to try to get there just in case you have to be someone is missing and they need someone to step in. So it's not a process. It's not a thing where you have to be like, okay, I got, college educated, I got all these degrees and stuff. It's not like that. They're looking for, I want to say the everyday average person who is committed, but who also is willing to talk to people. And then they also have different levels. Like if you want to be administrator, if you want to be customer service, if you want to work IT. So there's something for everybody. If you're introvert, they have something for you. And if you're extrovert, they have something for you. So if you don't like talking to people, they have stuff too. So it's for everybody, really.
That is so cool. And I think that that's definitely a way for people to get more involved in the process, because a lot of times we think that the only way to be involved is if you're working on a campaign or if you're working for a candidate. And for people who don't really have an affiliation or a connection, like, I think this is a great way for people to be involved in the process. One of the things that you also mentioned is like one of your presidents is running for office. Like, do you have a process where you encourage people within your denomination to run for political office? Because I've noticed like you all have a lot of your leaders who are also like state representatives or, even in the U.S. House. Like, is there something within your denomination that you all do to encourage and support that?
I think it's what we do is when they speak to leadership, I think our leadership has always been willing to support persons when they want to run for something outside of the church. I think we're really grateful for that. So like if someone does want to run and they're saying, I want to run for office, especially whether it's a local church, conference, Episcopal district, people are always just so willing to get behind that person. That's and good. Then within the bounds of course, having nonprofit and nonpartisan things, we try to support them as much as we can because, there's like red tape, but yeah. We try to definitely support them as much as we can and, give them a platform, because I think one of the easiest ways that churches and denominations can support people who do want to run for political office is to just give them a platform to be able to talk about their issues, talk about their candidacy, and then also educate the people on why this is important that person is running for that office. And I think that's something that we strive to do in the AME Church, is always give those persons a platform to talk.
That is so awesome. So before we wrap up, you shared a very interesting fact with me, which I was just like, where did you even learn that? Like, share with us like the connection between cakes and elections, because this is like fascinating to me.
Yeah, I was telling LaKesha, like, if anybody knows me, they know that I'm a legit nerd, right? So I was thinking about this, today. I was like, oh, election cake. So basically, before the 1800s, like mid 1800s, late 1800s, cake wasn't necessarily something the average person would just have. It's, special occasions and things. And the popularity of cake wasn't as much in America. But one of the things that they would do for elections to entice people to vote is to have cake after. So after someone would vote, they would get a piece of cake or they would get a cake. And they would have raffles and different things for cake. And depending on where you were, they would have different recipes at different election cakes, different styles and stuff. And so after that, there was, with that, there was a surge of popularity for cake. And so that's why it's kind of like a dessert that we just kind of think of automatically. Is cake is like one of the first things, but it wasn't always as popular. So, there are things that they used to do to really get people to vote. So getting people to vote has always been like a weird thing anyway. I think we think it's like a modern issue, but it's like, right. It's always been,
an issue.
Yeah.
I'm just like thinking when you were talking, like, I would rather have a piece of cake than like a sticker. Like, I know like people love their I voted stickers, but if I could get a piece of cake after voting, I would be really, really happy.
Yeah, so, it's the weirdest thing. My elementary school is our voting precinct. And so what they used to do is they would have a bake sale at every election. And it would be like $1.50. And I'm telling you, they sold out every time because people would vote and they would be like, dang, I think I want a cookie.
Right. Like I
A
just
piece
want
of
to
cake.
drink. Right.
So like, honestly, if you guys, if you're having if you know where precinct is, and like an area that you can have, that might be a fundraiser to
Yeah.
sell some cakes and some pies, because people, after they vote, they want something, kind of. So, just a
Yeah,
little
like a pat on
tidbit.
the back. Like I did good today. I did my civic
Yeah.
duty.
And you don't
Yeah.
have to charge that much, and you will sell out. And so, this is a hint if anybody's trying to get a little secure the bag.
Yes, y'all listen, because all these like baby contests is like wearing us out. So like sell some cake. Yeah, so are there any like final words that you have for us? Like if anybody's listening and they're kind of on the fence, I don't like the candidates, I don't know if I want to vote, like what do you want to tell those people who are just, trying to decide, does my vote count? Should I go vote in November or early vote?
Well, first thing I would say, think about the last 4 years, right? So if you're someone who didn't vote last time, and you're seeing the process that we're going through right now, okay, like let's not do that again.
Yeah.
Right? Because not voting doesn't help the situation, right? Not paying your rent doesn't make your rent non-existent. It just makes it that you have to pay more and more all the time.
Yeah.
So by not voting, you don't really change the system. You actually made it worse.
Right.
So by voting, even if you don't necessarily agree with all of the candidates' ideas, right? There's still something that that certain candidates have that they're offering that can still help us. Like if you are someone who's going to be affected by healthcare, and the changing of healthcare, where they don't have pre-existing conditions anymore, then not voting is not something that you have an option for. So I just say, like, not doing something doesn't change it. That doesn't make it disappear, doesn't make it go away. But you have to be an active participant in the solution. So vote now, so that after November, we can stop talking about it, but we can actually start really making change. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to lean on the president, but we start on the local level and start working our way up. How can we make changes in our local area of voting, and then work our way up so that when we do have the next presidential election, the country has changed so much that the president has no choice but to be for the people and how the people want to be seen. So I think that's what we have to do. You have to start at the ground, be the change that you want to see, and then we can, really make a change. So, vote.
Vote, everybody. Vote. Well, thank you so much for coming on today, and thank you for your friendship. Through these years of us venting and just going back and forth and sharing resources, and you are definitely a great resource for us. So make sure you guys follow Martinique to see like what else she's doing around like these voting initiatives and just different conversations that she's engaging people in, so that we can share the information, because knowledge is power. So thanks again for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.